Did you know that OpenAI's Custom GPT can actually perform actions outside of OpenAI? Well, it's actually possible, and here's how. Within the Custom GPT settings, you can structure a schema that will actually send a payload through a webhook that will connect to an external app such as n8n or make.com. You can then, for example, set up your n8n workflow to receive this webhook data and trigger every time your Custom GPT sends the webhook data. That's like magic. Now I'm going to walk you through an n8n AI system I've created, where it starts with the Custom GPT generating content, and then it's going to send that data through a webhook into my n8n workflow. The workflow is going to trigger, it's going to send data over to a Google Docs and then over to a Google Sheet. So I automatically have the content that the Custom GPT has generated over into my Google Docs and into my Google Sheet. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to create your Custom GPT. So I'm going to go into Explore over here, then you press on Create, and then you set up your Custom GPT with the instructions you want and the name. I've already set a Custom GPT up, so we'll just start with that. All right, this is my action Custom GPT I've created. I'm just going to show you how it works. So when you create a Custom GPT, it will look like this. So you give it a name, you just give it a description, doesn't really matter what it's called. And then you give it instructions. I've said you're an executive assistant that drafts social content and sends it to the webhook defined in the action schema. You must return the webhook's results to the user. Because this is what we want. We want the action Custom GPT to send a payload to our n8n workflow. The way I've set it up, I've just set up 4 different conversation starters. You don't have to do this, but I think it's pretty nice to actually just be able to press on which exact post you want. You can upload a knowledge base if you want, if you have some specific blog writing style you want to implement. For example, if you've written a lot of blogs on your web page, you can upload them all into a PDF and then upload them into the knowledge, and you can tell the Custom GPT to sound like your tone of voice that you had in your previous blog posts. That's just an example. All right, and then I just enable all of these capabilities. And then the very important thing is now the actions. So I have set it up with my webhook in my n8n workflow. So I'm just going to show you how the schema looks. The way that I have produced this schema is through something called Actions GPT. The Actions GPT is a free GPT that you can use to set up a schema for your own Custom GPT. All right, so I'm going to go into, I'll just show you where it is first. You can find the Actions GPT by just going into Explore, and then you type in Actions GPT, and it's going to pop up here. All right, here it is. Press on this one, and then you just press Start Chat. All right, I'm now in the Actions GPT, and I have created a prompt here. So what I'm telling the Action GPT is to build me a structure for an action my Custom GPT can perform to send a post request through a webhook. Here is the webhook. So I'm giving it the webhook, and then I want to set that if the output from the Custom GPT defines that it's from LinkedIn, I want it to output LinkedIn is true. If Instagram, I want it to output equals Instagram true. If it's from a newsletter, I want it to output newsletter equals true. And if it's all channels, I want it to output all channels true. The reason why I've set this up is because in my n8n workflow, I want to filter based on if I only want the Custom GPT to send a LinkedIn post or if I want to send text to all channels. Okay, so this is how the n8n workflow looks like. The first thing we have here is the webhook trigger. This is the webhook trigger that will receive the data from the Custom GPT, and this will actually trigger and send data through the whole workflow. So when the Custom GPT sends the data through the webhook, it's going to trigger this webhook, it's going to split out the data, it's going to go into the switch module here. And the way that I've set up the switch module is that if JSON channel is equal to LinkedIn, Instagram, newsletter, then it's going to go down all these different routes. If I choose in my Custom GPT to say, okay, I actually want to send text to all channels, it's going to trigger all of these different tracks and create text for all of them and input them into the Google Docs. and then into the Google Sheet. Okay, so when I hit enter here, it's going to create the schema for the Custom GPT action. And where you get the link for the webhook is in this webhook here. So you actually just take the post URL here, and then you just input it into here. So this is basically just this webhook I've taken here and put it into here. So what the Actions GPT is doing is that it understands that, okay, it's this webhooks that needs to be included in the action, so data can be sent to this webhook. All right, so now it has generated this schema that we can use for our Custom GPT within the actions. Okay, so let's input this schema into the actions. Okay, so we go into the actions here, we press on this wheel, and we just paste all the code into here so that the Custom GPT can send data to the n8n workflow or to the webhook. Okay, so to test the Custom GPT, we're going to go into the n8n workflow. We need to set the HTTP method as post because we have to match it with the Custom GPT. Okay, so when we've set the webhook as a post method, we're going to press listen for test event. When we listen for test event, the webhook is going to wait until the Custom GPT successfully sends data over to the webhook, and we can see if it actually works. So I'm going to press listen for test event here. Now the webhook is listening for a post request. Then I'm going to go into my Action Custom GPT here. I'm going to go back into the Edit GPT here. And I'm going to press on the wheel again into our actions. And I'm going to press test. Okay. So when I press test here, it's going to call this API. Okay. So because I've defined the prompt to ask what the topic is and any keywords or themes before it actually executes, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to press here. All right, so here it has created a LinkedIn post. Now it's going to ask me, would you like me to send this LinkedIn post to the API now, which is basically the webhook? I'm just going to say, yes, just send it. Now we can see it's talking to the connector, which is basically the webhook. So it's actually asking me if I want to allow to send this data. When I press allow, it's going to trigger this webhook. I'll just show you that in a second. So you can press always allow so you don't have to go in and allow every single time, or you can just manually allow every single time. So when I press allow here, we can see here that the workflow is going to trigger. Okay, so it was actually successful. It sent the data. So we can see here it triggered the workflow. So this was just a test, okay? And we can also see here that the LinkedIn post has been successfully sent through the API. Okay, now I'm going to execute the whole workflow so you can actually see that when I ask the Custom GPT to create a LinkedIn post, it's going to send that link post to the webhook, and the webhook is going to take that data, and the webhook is going to check for LinkedIn, and it's going to go down the route that's only called LinkedIn. It's not going to go down any of the other routes because we just want a LinkedIn post. So what I do now is that I execute the whole workflow, and it's going to keep listening for that webhook data. Okay, so now it's listening again. So I'm just going to say send the data again. This is going to trigger the whole workflow. So I think I have to allow here again. Okay, so when I press allow here, we can see live what happens. So we can see it went down the LinkedIn route. It uploaded the text into the LinkedIn docs and into the Google Sheet. Let's check what data it actually sent and if it worked. So we press here. Okay, so we can see the headline, how AI will redefine social media in 2026. If we go in here and we look at the output, we can actually see that, okay, this is actually the correct headline, how AI will redefine social media in 2026, and the text. And I've just set it up like this, so it takes the headline here and it takes the JSON text as well. This is the data it's going to send into the Google Docs. And then let's check the content planner I've created, which is this node here. Okay, so we can see here it set the date for the planned date for the post, and it also set the platform as LinkedIn and the post title. So as we can see, the Custom GPT was actually able to send this data to my n8n workflow, which then triggers the n8n workflow and sends the data to all the different apps. Now let's try to have our Custom GPT create content for every single channel and see if it can understand to send all this data through the webhook. So what I do again is that I go into n8n, I press on execute workflow. I then go back into my action Custom GPT, then I press on multipurpose all channels. And I'm just going to put in the same topic as we had before, which is how AI will impact social media in 2026. And it should already understand that I want to send data through all channels because I pressed on that button. All right, so as we can see here, it's generating all the different texts. It's generating a LinkedIn text here, so we can see here. It's generating an Instagram text, and it's generating a newsletter. Now it's asking me if I'm ready to send. Yes. And it's asking me if I want to send this to all the channels that we defined in the actions before. Now it's talking to the connector again. I'm going to press allow. That's going to send the data through the webhook, and it should trigger all the different paths. So as we can see here, it went down this path, the LinkedIn path, the Instagram path, and the newsletter path. So that's going to upload all the different text into their designated folders, and it's going to show me here in the GPT content planner that it has actually created a LinkedIn, Instagram, and a newsletter post. I hope this gave you a better understanding of how you can actually utilize your Custom GPT to the max by having it perform actions outside of OpenAI. You can define your actions the way that you want. I chose n8n in this case, but you can actually just have your Custom GPT send it to any single app that can receive data from a webhook. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. I'll also make sure to include the prompts I've used for this Custom GPT and for the actions within the Custom GPT. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.